Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. Yes, I am so happy you've joined me today. We're outside. It's February 1st. Welcome, February, beautiful month of hearts and flowers and Valentine's Day. Well, I woke up this morning and the bay behind me was thick fog like I have not seen in years. I could not see across the bay. I couldn't see if there would have been a boat out there. It was so dense and really what we would think of as London fog or Moscow fog. It was very romantic, but dark. And I thought, oh boy, my tea talk, I'm going to do it in my cozy corner by my piano. But then as I got ready for the tea talk, the sun burst out. And I thought, could I really think of it? And I went outside. It's like 55 degrees. And it feels wonderful. And I thought, let's just enjoy this day together. And we've said goodbye to red and green and Christmas gold. And we're welcoming February, pink and red. And let me show you. Let's put the napkin so you can see. I love the combination of pink and red together and white. And for Valentine's, isn't that lovely? And that is a napkin for you. And I put on it for fun 2 napkin rings. I have this one, which is rosebuds, and there's a pink rosebud in the middle, and then 3 red, and then this pink, lovely, I think it's like kind of like the camellia. So the camellias are blooming. My husband and I went to church on Sunday. The camellia bush outside the church was in full bloom, and the birds were all singing. It has warmed up so dramatically. Yes. Well, I think I'll put that down. And if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause, get your tea, and I will be waiting for you. Well, it's just such a surprise today. And so I chose the beginning of Valentine month. This is for you, a chintz pink varied cup and a beautiful pot. I will pour you a cup. Oh, do you see how it steams up? Oh, it's so nice outside. I'll give you a drop of milk. That is your cup. And if you like sugar, there's the sugar bowl. And this is my cup. See if you can see the steam. Oh, isn't that beautiful? This is the best tea today. This is a brisk, dark, black, British, English imported tea. So let's try. Oh my goodness, that is so delicious. I have the treat of treats today. I have probably the dream treat for a tea party. In a we're gonna have a Valentine tea party here pretty soon, but this is just getting ready for it. But look at that. They're bonbons from Germany. Now I should put the white, let's arrange them so that you see that there's dark chocolate, milk chocolate and white chocolate over marshmallow and a little wafer, and they're called Kisses. And I got them at the German shop. And there are German shops in every town around. I was looking for my daughter in Arizona. They have 3 German shops. You can go there and get the best bread. They bake from the real German flour. There's no preservatives. This particular bakery has a little store where you buy things like this. Then they have a delicatessen where you can buy meats and cheeses. Then they have a restaurant and a konditorei where they do the homemade baked goods. And I'll have to bring some of those to you. The problem is I only go there on a Saturday. And by the time Thursday comes, they're gone. People in this house like them too much. And I can't save them any longer. But I just think a pink and red and white tea tray to begin February. And we are listening to Itzhak Perlman, and he's playing the famous Bach Violin Concerto. And I know I have a lot of musicians on this tea table, which I am so grateful for. And I know that many of you have played this piece. And it's one of the first big concertos that my daughter was given. And I think Bach is, for a young child or a middle school, is easy to understand. Bach makes sense. He makes sense, and he helps you play. Yes, well, you know, I am noticing that my camera is going crooked. Do you mind if I just adjust it? Let's see if I can just straighten it a little bit. There, I think that will be better. And I'm all layered in brown. Oh boy, now that is too much. Sorry, my camera is not quite there. That should be right. I can tell that we need to see the top of those mountains across the bay, and then everything fits in. And these beautiful pink flowers I have in the vase I had on the tea table, but they were taking up so much room. They're huge. They're gladiolus that I thought, we'll just let them sit in the back there. And I brought my little darling brown vintage purse today because I know I've had it on here before, but isn't it fun? It just matches. I'm all in brown, and I didn't think I would be wearing this shawl. I happen to have this, but I'll show you. I am wearing brown. I have a shawl, scarf shawl, over a leopard skin. I don't know if you can see this. And then I'm wearing today, for Candlemas Day, an Eastern Orthodox cross. The Eastern Orthodox cross is very interesting, and I can't get any closer to show you. This one has little stones in it, not jewels, stones, like a solid color. So that's what I have on underneath here. But you know, I'm gonna re-snap this because it's just amazing. But this is a thin shawl, but for some reason they put fur on it. And I always love to wear this in November because I think of November as the beginning of winter in browns. But I felt like wearing brown and gold today. I don't know why, so I'm wearing it today. And this little shawl is just the right temperature to keep me warm out here. And I tell you, I have discovered this winter, fur really is wonderful. It's soft, light, and breathes with you. And even the faux fur, I have real fur. This is probably faux fur, but you know, even the faux fur, it feels so cozy without being hot. I think it's like what we would say a pure wool Scandinavian sweater is the same. Or Irish or Scottish, it breathes, or German sweaters. The pure wool, it breathes, and it's not hot. It does, but it's warm. Isn't that beautiful? Well, don't we love different colors on the tea table? And God has put such color in nature. And I know what's going to come soon are the tulips. And I already saw them being sold in little pots at the store. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to get more cold weather, so I think I'm going to go get a little tulip and a little pot and put it on my front porch. I like pink, and it's amazing how long one little pot will last. Amazing. Now daffodils, they go fast. They only last a few days, but the tulip will last and last and last. It's amazing. Well, I'm going to come a little closer to you, and I'm sorry, but something's happening. My camera keeps sliding down, and I don't have a producer here. Probably need a producer for this. And so I am going to, hopefully that will stay. I don't know why it keeps sliding. So there we go. Let's just hope for the best here. Okay, my hat is not in, but it's all right. I'm in and you're in. Oh boy, see what I'm saying? Please forgive me. I'm going to take a moment and you can look at the view while I adjust this. Something is going on, and there. Now, I think that's it. And I think that will stay now. Okay, isn't that something? Technology. I'm learning something new every day. So are you. We're all learning. Young and old, and the young seem to learn so fast. Yes, they are so amazing. They learn everything so fast. Well, I thought, what do we talk about today? We're getting ready for Valentine's Day, yes, and we are also thinking about Candlemas Day, which I said I wore this, and I've already talked about Candlemas Day briefly last week, but just to remind, February 2nd, tomorrow, is the 40th day after Christmas, and Mary went to the temple and offered turtle dove offering. That was the custom. If you had a son, which she had the baby Jesus, she brought an offering of turtle doves. And that's why Candlemas Day all over Eastern Europe and many parts of Western Europe is celebrated with a church full of candles and reflecting that Jesus is the light of the world. Isn't that beautiful? Another holiday. And then we're going to go to Saint Valentine's Day. It's another Christian holiday. He's a saint. Hard to believe it with all the candy everyone eats, right? But it's a sweet holiday, and it's a sweet, kind, loving, gracious holiday that really is so important for all of us. And it's a fun holiday because we don't have the pressure of a lot of the holidays. Christmas is wonderful, but boy, it keeps us busy, doesn't it? A lot to do at Christmas. Well, I was studying, and this is Johann Sebastian Bach playing, I said, the violin concerto in A. Well, Bach's mother was a very, very Christian, devout woman, and she was part of the pietistic movement of the Lutheran Church in Germany. And I've been studying these people. I've often studied them in my church history studies, but I've recently was studying actually about a man in the 1800s in England named George Mueller, who started orphanages for poor street children. There was no official government welfare at that time, and it was only charity that could help the people. Well, this man had been in Germany, and he had been a student, and he had been pretty rough. His father was trying to help him. He was wild. He was spending his money on drink, and he wasn't serious. Now, here we go again. This is the tea talk of movement. I wonder if it's because we are outside. I think I'm going to just move this close, like that, and then I will be able to see you. And I'm going to just hold it like that. Oh my goodness. I guess what it is, it's not the camera, it's my actual stand that's not doing what it should do. Okay, let's see. Does that work? Okay. Now I see you and you see me, right? Okay. Well, this is a fascinating story because it's another behind the story, okay? Great people that do great things don't just happen in a vacuum. And George Mueller, his mother died, and he got more wild. And his father couldn't control him. Well, he went to his father said, I'm going to send you to a theology school in Germany, in Halle, Halle. It's still going. It's one of the most famous universities in Germany. And he had a friend there who invited him to a little prayer group at home. And it was led by a man that was so kind and so loving, and he was called a pietist. This is what I'm getting at. Now, Bach's mother would have been in that movement 100 years before, because Johann Sebastian Bach is in the 1700s. This is now the 1800s, early 1800s. And as a young man, he said, I have never known that God really loves me. He felt so guilty about all his sins and wildness. And these people showed him so much kindness and so much love. And they said, knowing God is not about religion. It's about knowing that he loves you and loving him back. It's personal relationship. So George Mueller, his life changed. Literally overnight. He was so happy. He wanted to start helping other people. And he went to London to work. And he saw all these street children, very similar to what you would see in a Charles Dickens movie. They were literally on the street, and they had no help and no hope. They could live and die on the street and be abused. And he said, I have to help these young people. I have to do something for these people. So he met a beautiful girl, and she was very much of the same mind as him. And they married. And her brother was part of this. He was a minister also in the Pietistic movement. And they said, we don't want to just talk about religion and philosophy and sit around in theological discussions. We want to go do something and help people. And so George Mueller said, let's open our home to the orphans. And then he said, I am not going to tell anybody my financial needs. I am going to only pray and tell God my needs and trust God. And do you know he did that? And he started the most incredible movement he built houses, and he had hundreds of orphans that he took in that were raised up. And he said, unless they can have 3 pairs of shoes and 3 different outfits, it's not fair. And so he would believe God. Sometimes the orphans would be sitting at the table and they didn't know where the food was coming from. They would pray and a knock would come to the door. Someone brought enough food. And his orphans grew up and became good citizens and started doing their own good works. Now, Charles Dickens heard about this and he thought, is this for real? Because people always wonder, is this just smoke and mirrors? Is it real? So he went to visit the home, and George Mueller gave him his ring of keys to every building, that he could go and examine. And he came out and he said, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen done in my city of London. And so he wrote an article in the paper and people became aware, and then people really started supporting it. And he even had a library for the children. He had education. He had training for the girls, training for the boys, vocational training. And if they were so inclined, scholastic, they could go on to university. And this is one beautiful story. You can look him up, George Mueller, Mueller. And my husband and I there's a movie on YouTube, and it's called The Robber of the Cruel Streets. In other words, he went out and took those children from those cruel streets. It's a beautiful movie, and you can watch it. It will inspire you. And the reason I wanted to involve Johann Sebastian Bach in this is because this movement originated actually in the late 1600s. There was a man named August Frank, F-R-A-N-K. You all can study this. You can look him up on Google and read all about these people. August Frank thought that the church had become very cold and distant, and that they were not meeting the needs. This was the Lutheran Church. Now remember, Martin Luther, he nails his theses 1517, and then he translates a Bible into German, and within a generation you have literacy, people reading and writing. That's 1500s and into the 1600s. But after about 100 years or so, the great movement was getting just kind of settling back into more of a religion, and the wealthy people weren't helping the poor, and they weren't reaching out. And this Victor Frank, August Frank, he started saying, he wrote a book and he said, we need to get back to the real Jesus, loving one another. And many different groups have come out of this movement, because even the Moravians, that, the beautiful song it's called the Quaker song, but it comes from the Moravians also. All these different groups kind of came out of different groups, but the song, 'tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we're in a place that will be just right, we'll live in the valley of love and delight. Well, Aaron Copland included that melody in his great Appalachian Spring, that beautiful musical work that he did. So the song traveled to America. Well, these Moravians, who were German, had come, and some of them, they were simple Bible people, and they had come to America back in the 17s because John Wesley met them, and his life was changed by meeting them. And then moving to the 18s, George Mueller met them, and his life was changed. And I thought, wow, the story behind the story. And we all know Bach's music is so deep, so heartfelt. You can't go to the St. Matthew's Passion, and not be so moved by how tender his words are. He knows he knows that God loves him, and he understands loving God, and there's a tender spirituality to Bach. Well, I believe it came from his mother, who was pietist, and that this movement has helped so many people. And I think even the Salvation Army would have looked to George Mueller, because the General Booth comes right after George Mueller in saying, we need practical faith. We need to not just talk about God. We need to go help the people that need help. And I just love this story because it shows the power of one person following what they felt God wanted them to do. And first of all, it was actually, there was another man before August Frank, and his name was Spener. And they were so moved because they had tasted of the real love of God, but they felt like the church was going cold. This happens. Third generation, people take everything for granted, and they just kind of become religious without being spiritually in touch with God. There's a difference, you know. So, if we follow the train, you have Spener and Frank, who would have influenced Bach, and then that Frank's writings, and he wrote a very famous book, and I want to get it, and it's short, but it says, everyone that talks about it said it changed lives. And then you had the Moravians, and then they influenced John Wesley, and John Wesley, 100 years before George Mueller, turned England upside down too, went to the poorest of the poor. They said John Wesley would walk into filth and chaos and dirt and filth and leave behind him beauty and order. That's God. He would give the men practical help, provide for the widow, the orphan, provide jobs for the men, and he took the gin away. They always take the gin away. That helps a lot too. And speaking of tea, we talked about this before. John Wesley gave them tea in place of gin. Tea saved the day, and they were called teetotalers. Isn't that beautiful? There is always a story behind a story. Don't be content just to read about a great person. When I hear somebody did something great, first thing I do, I go find their biography. I do it on Google. I read about their life, who, what, where, why, how, who influenced them. I'm curious. And then I go and read the person that influenced them, and then I read that biography or the Wikipedia or whatever, and I study, and it's so wonderful. We are so blessed that we can learn instantly things that would have taken others in even 25 years ago. You would have had to go to a library. You could have maybe gone on the computer, but there wasn't as much on there now as there is now. But we can learn, and these people in history, when you feel close to them, they become our friends. We're kindred heart, and they can help us be better people and reach out and do good for others. That's what it's all about. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been really fun. And I'm so happy to be outside. Just wonder if it's going to be one of those beautiful Februaries where it's sunny, sunny, sunny. And I remember some of those. I have a memory of a February. It was the February that my husband and I were engaged. I had come home from Germany. He had come home from Germany. He was in college. I was in college. We were both completing our degrees after traveling around Europe. And he came to see me in Tacoma. I was in Tacoma for a while, and then I moved to Seattle and went to the U. But he was driving me around in February, and he took me to Mount Rainier, and it was so beautiful. We both were saying, wow, February is a nice month. It was one of those Februaries where the sun was shining. So get out, have a drive, enjoy, do something kind for others. We can only maybe do little things. Maybe we can't be a George Mueller and build a home for orphans, but we can give love in our heart. And if God touches your heart and tells you to do something, do it. You won't be sorry. Thanks again for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, and please push the notification bell so you'll know the next Tea Talk. And please share with others. This Tea Talk is for everyone. We're friendly. We invite. We want people to hear good news. And if you liked it, you can like it. And if you want to leave a comment, I so appreciate every single comment. I do. Well, thank you again. And don't forget, now this is your tea. You have your tea, and share your tea with someone else. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.